July 30th, 1975. Bloomfield Township, outside Detroit. Jimmy Hoffa walked out of the Machus Red Fox after waiting on a meeting and vanished in daylight. No body, no confession worth keeping. Just a hot parking lot and a hole in the record that never cooled. Hoffa was 58, compact, disciplined, hard to miss. He ran the Teamsters, went to prison, came out swinging, and kept a notebook of grudges in his head. Men like that made appointments carefully. They did not drift. That afternoon, he told his wife he was meeting two men, Anthony Provenzano from New Jersey, Anthony Giacalone from Detroit. Both had weight. Both denied being there. One concrete fact stayed put. Hoffa called home around 2:15 and sounded irritated, like a man left standing too long. His wife, Josephine, gave the cleanest early marker. Hoffa left their lakefront home in West Bloomfield around 1:15 in a dark green 1974 Pontiac Grand Ville. He wore a short-sleeved dark shirt and slacks, ordinary clothes. Nothing about the day advertised an ending. The Machus Red Fox sat on Telegraph Road, all low roofline and suburban confidence, where businessmen ate steak under dim lights. Outside, the July heat clung to chrome and asphalt. It was public enough to feel safe, quiet enough for a trap. Bloomfield Township in 1975 was trim lawns, broad roads, money tucked behind trees. Cars moved in and out without drawing eyes. A man could step from a restaurant into another vehicle and vanish between traffic lights. No alley needed, no midnight required. Inside the Red Fox, the air held meat smirk, liquor, and carpet cleaner. Hoffa knew the place. So did half the people who mattered in Detroit. Meetings there looked routine. That helped. Routine was the best disguise in the file. On my desk, the first photograph showed the restaurant lot under white sun, long shadows from parked sedans, the grain chewed at every edge. I kept staring at the spaces between the cars. Empty patches often told more than faces did. Witnesses placed Hoffa outside, restless, checking the lot, stepping back in, stepping out again. One account said he waited near the entrance. Another put him by his Pontiac. Short fragment. Then the problem. Nobody gave the same last clean minute. At 2:15, Hoffa called Josephine from a payphone near the restaurant. He said he'd been stood up and was waiting. The call mattered because it fixed him in place. After that, the timeline went soft, like paper left near a radiator. Later that evening, his Pontiac turned up in the Red Fox parking lot, unlocked. No sign of struggle worth trusting. The car held a few small clues and a lot of air. Gone. No trace. That was the official smell of it from the start. The government line hardened fast. Hoffa had likely been lured to the restaurant, picked up in another car, killed elsewhere, and disposed of by organized crime figures who wanted him out of circulation. It was clean on paper. Federal investigators centered on motive. Hoffa wanted his union power back. Mafia-backed leaders did not want him returning to the Teamsters' throne. Old disputes with Provenzano had teeth. Detroit men around Giacalone had access, vehicles, silence, and practice. In 1982, a federal court declared Hoffa legally dead. Nobody had a body. Nobody had a murder scene. The record said absence plus time equaled certainty. The record lies. A death certificate closed a drawer. It did not answer the room. Years later, prosecutors charged no one with killing Hoffa. A few men were named, pressured, chased, and publicly tied to the disappearance. Cases thinned out. Witnesses aged. Some died. The official version remained broad, because broad claims survived where specifics failed. Then the cracks started showing. Giacalone said he was nowhere near the Red Fox. Provenzano said the same from another state. Fine, except Hoffa had told family those were the men he expected. Somebody had set that table in his mind. One witness thread pointed toward a maroon Mercury Marquis.
Possibly with a young driver Hoffa might have trusted enough to enter. Another account shifted the make, the color, the timing. Tires on hot pavement. Memory went slippery. That's the part that doesn't add up. The forensic scrap most people remember came years later. Hoffa's hair was reportedly found in a Mercury, linked to a suspect's son. Useful, maybe.
No. Hair traveled. Cars changed hands. Evidence aged in bags and stories at the same pace. Frank Sheeran entered the file from another angle. Late and loud. with a confession that sold books and revived old smoke. He said he killed Hoffa in a Detroit house. Investigators checked walls, floors, drains. Nothing held. The claim had style. Style was cheap. One alternate route ran through Charles Chucky O'Brien, Hoffa's foster son and longtime aide. He denied involvement for years. His movements that day drew attention anyway. Familiar faces lowered defenses. If Hoffa got into a car, trust may have opened the door. Another theory stayed in Detroit soil. The body, if there was one to recover, never left the region. It went to a landfill, an incinerator, a scrapyard, or a mob-controlled funeral home crematory. Practical places, ugly places, places built to erase volume.
A third line looked past the famous names and at the mechanics, drivers, enforcers,
Men who handled errands and owed favors. Big conspiracies leaked. Work crews kept their mouths shut longer. Some cases stay cold for a reason. Too many hands knew one small part. What happened after was its own cemetery. Searches under barns, pools, horse farms, driveways, fields, and warehouse slabs. Each tip arrived with fresh certainty and old rot. Cadaver dogs barked. News trucks came. Dirt moved. Nothing settled the file. The FBI kept files thick with interviews, dead ends, and blacked out lines. Key figures aged into silence or into graves. Hoffa's family kept asking. The city kept speculating. The file never closes. It just changes custodians while the dust deepens. 20 years on cold cases taught me one small thing about this one. Public disappearances looked loud from the outside. Up close, they were usually built from ordinary motions. A curb, a door opening, a known voice. Then the world accepted a blank space. I kept coming back to the parking lot heat and that payphone call. A powerful man felt safe enough to wait in the open, then vanished within minutes. Which detail doesn't sit right? The desk stays cold. The questions don't.